Hi, this is Blake with Outcast Gaming, bringing you our very own Michael Berg, aka Bergy's GenCon Top 8 Invoker deck profile. Be sure to like and subscribe, and enjoy the video. We're here. We're going to talk about the top 8 6 p.m. webcam event GenCon 2020 list that our very own Michael Berg, aka Bergy, our little wonderkin, ran. So, Bergy, let's get started. First, I want to talk about your experience, what it was like playing on Discord. You actually went to physical GenCon last year. You were playing a different game, but you went to physical GenCon. This was all digital, and the games were digital, and you were done on Discord. So, what was that like? What was your experience like? Tell us about that.
So it was really interesting going from in-paper tournaments to the Discord. I think I had a little bit of an advantage because we've been playing on Discord, me and my friends, the Outcast, Blake included. And that's how I've gotten into the game inherently. But I've played against players who just had a phone and had someone else holding it for them for their mats to see what was going on. And I could definitely tell that there was a little bit of a difference between the online game and the in-person game.
Yeah, it was. You could tell people who were comfortable with it and people who weren't. I think having a comfort level with it is, it's like going to locals all the time versus that first time you go. You get those little bit of nerves versus the it's just like, this is what I do. This is what I do. So let's get into the deck. We're gonna start and just kind of work turn by turn. So turn one, I think, is obviously pretty important. Your opening hand, your mulligan, is a pretty big deal in Invoker because the setup is such a huge thing for a control deck. So let's talk about opening hand, what you're mulliganing for, what you're going to charge, what are like matchup specific cards.
So for your opening hand, you're always going to want Vegeta, no matter what. Even if it means dumping 6, you're always wanting Vegeta. Second place goes to the Tournament of Power Arena. You need those multicolor standing in order to do your Sleepy Boys, Tyranny Costs, and Royal Condemnations. Ideally, you get down Tournament of Power Arena turn 1 so you can get that deck set up at the top by charging a mono blue. And against certain matchups, you want either Tyranny's Cost or Topo, specifically because Tyranny's Cost helps keep that hand high against hand destruction matchups, and Topo just says no to an opponent's turn on turn 2.
Yeah, a lot of decks that either free play stuff like Vajix or anything like that, Topo helps you extend it because they're not going to be willing to dump their hand to try and aggro you for one turn. They basically are just like, yeah, I'll wait until next turn and I'll try again. And it gives you a ton of wiggle room in your ability to like protect yourself turn two. So turn two, the strategy is basically defense, card draw, and cycling, right? That's what you're trying to accomplish. Is you got to defend yourself, keep that life high, just get yourself to that sweet spot 5 eventually on turn 3. But obviously turn 2, you don't want to be at 5 life. You want to be keeping a high life total. So talk about your defense cards, and then talk about what you use to cycle your deck and to draw the cards so you can make sure you set up all your combos late game.
So I always start the turn with the Tournament of Power Arena to scry 3, just so I know what I'm going to get off of my leader swing. And ideally, you discard a card that has the activate main where you send it to warp to potentially get another multicolor in your hand. And this allows you to swing, discard, pick up a card, then set it aside and get another card. So you go +1. And also, Tyranny's Cost helps to draw 2 so that you can see those negates you need for turn 2 as well. Sparking Dimension Magic is really easy turn 2 when you're dropping most of your hand to get better cards.
And then once you basically have your setup, you're basically trying to cycle, get yourself set up. We move to turn 3. Turn 3, I think in Invoker, most people would assume it's literally only one thing. And it is kind of only one thing, but like the main thing is Vegeta. And then what do you do? Like, what are you looking for after you play Vegeta? What are you trying to get accomplished on turn 3 to set up turn 4 and 5 in the late game plan of Invoker?
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep my hand big and also awaken on the same turn. So what I would always do is, of course, set the top 3, like always with Tournament of Power Arena, and then swing with your leader, drop a multicolor. If you're not at 5, pick up a life to get to 5, and then draw a card so that you can awaken off of the cards you just drew. Ideally, you chart just things like We Are in This Together and Catastrophic Blow, because those are cards you can get back later, or you need them in the warp to win the game.
Like you said, you want to get to the 5 life. The 5 is key because that obviously turns on your surge effect, which is so strong because that continues to forward your game plan of playing defense, like defense, defense, defense. knowing what's in the other person's hand is obviously huge in this game, and you're able to do it just at 5 life. So getting that swing, take the life if it's what it takes to get to 5, so you can set that up is huge on turn 3, because turn 4 is not a bad turn for you. It's just kind of an awkward turn because your game plan is kind of predicated on let's get to turn 5. Turn 5 is where I win. So talk about turn 4 a little bit. What are you trying to do on turn 4?
So on turn 4, I just try to get as many cards in my hand, or to stop my opponent's game plan by looking at their hand. Depending on the matchup, I'm going to use my second surge to get back 3 multicolor extra cards and get things back like Sleepy Boy Technique, Royal Condemnation, and Tyranny's Cost. Sometimes I get Death Beam if they're running barriers, or
Mhm.
the 5. I think it's the 5 cost. It's the Zamasu, the fused one, the green one that swings and makes you drop a card.
Oh, yeah, the yep, the indestructibles.
Mm.
Yeah, Emperor's Death Beam is like your go-to indestructible killer because you get to neg it off the board because nothing else in your deck really touches that stuff except for like Royal Condemnation coming in.
Definitely. Against matchups like the Jeeks and other aggro builds that can go a little bit longer, I think I almost always take a look at their hand just so I can see if they have Bibbidi. Because Bibbidi is an auto I win the combo step button, and Invoker sometimes gets caught without negates, and Rival Seekers helped with the combo step a lot, but Bibbidi just gets so high.
Yeah, for you, the Invoker doesn't have like a built-in combo mechanic really compared to a lot of decks. So being able to combo up in a lot of decks almost pushes through damage for sure. Obviously, you said Rival Seeker helps having a free 10k. It doesn't draw you a card like a super combo, but that doesn't really matter because you're just trying to stay out of the damage. You want to be winning the damage race the whole game if possible. But that Bibbity, man, they do that double strike into the Bibbity. If you don't have the negate, you basically are just taking whatever is coming your way. And I think taking a look at it is huge because turn 5 is where you want to win. Turn 5 is like that's especially, I know your build is predicated more on the turn 5 cat blow win because you're more concerned about just you just need them to be at like 5 or 6 life. Obviously, less life is easier to accomplish, but I know for you, like you have a built-in pretty stable and pretty consistent 6-0 uninteractable cat blow, which can feel bad, but it's such a strong combo in the deck that I think a lot of times Invoker decks are built around Apex and around that finish with a win on a swing, but you actually can do it without swinging. So turn 5, what are the cards you're looking for first off, and then we're going to talk about the energy explosion loop.
So turn 5, you're just gonna charge any card, minus, of course, Rival Seeker and Energy Explosion. When you play Rival Seeker, you always want to have that one multicolor standing because there's a lot of counterplays in the game that are just play this card, then do an effect, so that you can Royal Condemnation things like the Frieza counterplay, the new Vegeta Prideful Transformation. God Sealing is a big, yeah, no, not for you this turn.
It stops the turn 5 win for sure. So you're trying to set up on offense, you're trying to set up the rival seeker, preferably into the energy explosion, because you have what we have simply referred to as the energy explosion loop, or as we on the team like to call it because it's happened so much. Sometimes I just refer to it as the loop of sadness. So walk me through 6-0 life energy explosion loop. Walk me through it real quick.
Alrighty, so turn 5, you charge, you play Rival Seeker for 3, get back 2 Cablos from your drop, put the Energy Explosion on top, blow up the 3 energy you used to play the Rival Seeker, bring back in 3 multicolor energy, then you pay 3 for another Rival Seeker so it can't get counterplayed, then you pay 2 to Cablo them for 3, warp both Cablos. If you hit things off the top, great. If not, no big deal. Get them back, play another Energy Explosion, and then rinse repeat, blow up 3 energy, bring back the energy, Cablo them for 3 more.
Because what again we've talked about this before obviously, and you said you had people who didn't totally understand it. The thing that people miss is that the energy explosion effect to do 2 damage on the first damage is on the card. It's not for turn, it's per card per turn. So because you can play 2 on a turn, you can actually that first cat blow is 2 damage, second one is a third, and then when you rinse and repeat you get to do it again, so it totals up to 6 damage with basically no interaction except trying to do rival seeker, and that's exactly why you're holding that royal condemnation in hand because they try to counterplay. You're just saying nope, put it on the bottom of a deck. It's not going to happen this turn. So the last thing I think we obviously you got to talk about, if you're talking about a deck, you're talking about a deck profile, the last thing you always got to talk about, and it has to come up, is what matchups are hard for you, what cards give you problems, and how do you play into that. So I know one of the things we always talk about, and we've been talking about, is the counterplay existence of what we have right now. With all this set to counterplay, we've got things like Release from Evil and Trunks Godsending Technique. Like those create issues for your deck. So how do you play around them? What do you do in order to protect yourself from them and those kind of things? Like what's the counterplay to those two?
If you're playing against blue specifically and you know they're running unisons, you use both of your surges to make sure they don't have God Sealing. And I honestly think you surge turn 3, don't surge turn 4, and wait till turn 5 just to look at their hand and make sure that what you're doing is going to be safe. And then if they have 2 and you discard 1, swing at their unison so it gets down below that 2 marker threshold so they can't do God Sealing. I know Zeno is kind of dumb and can get a bunch of markers really quick, but if they're running any other blue unison, swing into it so it can get below that 2 damage threshold. Release from Evil is a really interesting card for the matchup. I think the only things that really can affect are if you're swinging with Vegeta in a sort of green yellow matchup, that can be a big issue because it loses its barrier, so then it can get touched during the combo step. And also, it just says no to Apex. Like it's pay 0, Apex says no. Also, that triple strike 6 drop that people sometimes play as well, it can just get stopped by that, which is really scary. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for unisons, of course. Make them have to pay 1 for it if they're going to play it. And then Demigra is a weird thing. I sideboard Absolute Confidence for 2. I'm not sure it's the best thing in the sideboard, but I think it can definitely help.
The issue with Demigra is that activate main -3. So Absolute Confidence lets you minus a marker and maybe just keep it back for a turn, is what you're thinking, right?
Hmm.
The decks that tend to give Invoker trouble are either like mega aggro, like obviously Gohan trying to just win before you get a chance to do anything. Because obviously Invoker needs some time to set up. You got lots of defense built in, but you can only play so much defense on one energy or two energy. And Gohan obviously wants to put the pressure on before you have a chance to really do anything about it. So what's the strategy into just like hard aggro?
Cycle through your deck so that you have things like Topo and Sparking Dimension Magic. Because sometimes Gohan players are like, oh, they're tapped out to play Topo. It's fine. My hand is 10 because I picked up half my life this turn. Sparking Dimension Magic keeps that life going so you can play things like your Roshis and your Senzu Beans. Because Gohan has a lot of 10k bodies like the Nappa Super combo, and Senzu Bean makes it so they have to combo up and lose cards in their hand so that if they do go for that swing lead one last time, I lose the game if I whiff, you can just either combo out or just negate it.
So then the other thing that you've talked about that can give you trouble and you've had to learn how to play into, which it's super helpful because we obviously have teammates running the decks, is hand destruction decks. So what do you do when you sit down across from a green deck that you know is just gonna go after your hand hard? How do you get to turn 5 to win the game?
So a lot of the hand destruction is I choose what cards I'm going to drop. So as long as I can keep my hand really big, there's a lot of cards that as soon as you have one on the table, it's kind of a dead card. So I never use my sparking to look at their hand. I always use it to pick up things like my Tyranny's Costs, my Sleepy Boys, and my Real Condemnation so that I can stop them from playing things that'll make me drop cards. And also so that I can draw cards and cycle through my deck.
Right, because then it's all about hand size, and you do build in. You're obviously your specific invoker, and I think most invokers are trying to build hand size, but you're specifically looking for. Anytime you're looking for like a 6 card combo piece in a game like DBS, you're having to hunt a lot. So your deck has just all of the gas as far as like that hand cycling and hand building, so you can find all your pieces. So it's kind of your deck especially kind of has a little bit of an edge on a lot of hand control decks because you want things in the drop, you want things in your warp, you want things in your hand. Like it's kind of, in some ways it's helping you set up. You just have to counter it enough to make sure you're not losing too many cards, is basically what you're trying to do, right?
Yep.
That's the deck in a nutshell. We're gonna show the full deck list. I think I like your builds, even though it's made me sad a lot of times. I like your build a lot. I think it's been harnessed pretty hard with our team and a couple local guys. And so, is there anyone you want to specifically thank and shout out? I know you got like guys on the team, a couple guys, like I said, at the locals.
First off, shoutouts to Dane, also known as Nichols on the team. He first taught me how to play Invoker. I remember online school after one day, he's like, "Let's get into a Discord call and I'll show you how to do it." Shout out to my buddy Froggy as well for just talking general strategy within the deck and about keeping the hand big and how stupid the energy explosion loop is. And lastly, shoutouts to Dane Reich, super great guy from MN. He taught me a lot about just the little finicky things with Invoker, like swinging to drop and draw more cards so you can awaken better, and also just sequencing better turns within Invoker.
Right. And I mean, you've gotten a ton of reps. I know a lot of people during the quarantine era have like lost reps, and I don't think that that's ever been an issue for the Outcast. I think we might get more reps now than we've ever gotten before because Discord is like a second home for most of us, just grinding games. So this deck has seen the meat grinder of everything you could possibly face against, and it's been honed in. I think it's really good. So we'll throw the deck list in the section below. We'll make sure we have a link to it. You guys can check it out. Otherwise, if you like the page, like us, subscribe to us. We'll continue to put out deck lists and we'll continue to talk DBS. So, Bergy, thanks for hanging out and talking Invoker. And once again, dude, way to crush it and be our little wonderkind and top 8, the first ever like big tournament you've ever set down and shuffled in a DBS deck in. And just continue to crush souls, man. Show them what it's like.
Thank you. Thanks again for watching, everybody.